Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss that how to pick a random element from a dynamic array and how does it differ picking any random element from an associative array with non-standard indices. So if we have an associative array that has string index type, then you cannot pick any random element using for each. So there's a different way of doing the same thing. So let's find out. So for our first example, I will be giving some elements to a dynamic array and then using $urandom, I will pick some random element. So let's begin. So I will name that dynamic array ARR, which is an abbreviation for array. And the elements of that dynamic array will be of int data type. So I will write two initial block and one initial block. I will just write the $monitor and it will keep scanning for any changes inside this dynamic array. And if there are any changes or any change made to this dynamic array, it will just print out the value on the display. So I will use %p and array. So in the next initial block, I will assign some values to this dynamic array. So first, using the new method, let's assign 10 elements to this dynamic array. Now, using for each, I will assign some values to each of those 10 elements. Now, I will just go ahead and just run this code to check what are the elements. Okay, there is no compilation error, so I will go ahead and simulate the code. So as you can see, it is very simple that the array, the zeroth element will have value 0. The one element, the first element will have value 1. The second element will have value 2. So it's very straightforward. So as you can see here right on the console that we get values ranging from 0 to 9. So there are 10 elements inside this array. So how can we pick any random array? I will show you. So I will add another int variable and that int variable will act as a random index. So I will name it this, and then here I will assign a random value, and that random value should be ranging from 0 to 9. So to make it happen, I will just write rand idx and I will use $urandom because we want an unsigned value. and I will mention the range. The range should be equal to the size of this element, the size of this array minus 1. And I am using minus 1 because the size of this array will be 10, but the index ranges from 0 to 9. So that's why I'm mentioning minus 1. So this will assign any random number from 0 to 9 to this variable. And then I will use this variable to index that particular element. So using that, we can pick any random element. So after this, it will get any random number from 0 to 9, and then I will display it. So as you can see right here, the code is very simple. We are just assigning 10 new elements to this dynamic array, and then we are assigning values to each of those 10 elements, and then we are declaring uh, int variable, an int variable, and that int variable will get any value from 0 to 9, and 0 to 9 is the range of the index for this particular array. So after doing that, we will just print out that particular value, the index, the random number that we get, and we will print that thing here, right here. So it will just pick any random element and it will print it on the console. So I will go ahead and simulate the code. So as you can see right here that it picked the last element, the ninth element, and it will pick randomly from any of these values. So as you can see right here that it is very simple for a dynamic array. But what about an associative array with the index type of string? It is very complicated for that. So here, as you can see that the random index is getting uh, uh, an integer value, and you cannot use an integer value to directly print out the element for an associative array if the index type of that associative array is string. So I will show you a trick to pick up any random element of an associative array with index type string, and let's begin. So I will just go ahead and mention that associative array. The elements should be of type string, and we'll name it associative or ASSOC in short, and the index type should also be string for our example. Now for this also I will write new random variable, and I will name it random index 1. And also we should have another random index variable which should support a value of string type. and you will find out why. So I will name it random text string tr. So first I will go ahead and assign some values to that associative array. So my first index will be a, and the value of the element associated to that index will be x. I'm making it very simple. The second index should be b, and the string associated to that index should be y, and the last index will be c, and the element associated to that index will be z. So here is our associative array. We have assigned 3 elements to it, and you can just see the label or index and the elements associated to those index. Now we will do the same thing for this associative array, and that is we will just try to pick any random element, but we cannot directly pick any number and then print that number because the index is of string type. So the other way is that first I will just give it a, then we will use the random index which we have mentioned here, that is random index 1. And like for the case of our dynamic array, it should also get a random number that ranges from the size. The like here the size is 012, and so that number should range from 0 to 2. So I will just write $u random similar to that range, and the range should be the size of that associative array minus 1. Okay, so as you can see right here that this random index 1 variable will get any random number between 0 and 2. So after that, similar to our dynamic array case, we will iterate through each elements of this associative array. So we cannot go ahead and directly print the value associated with this index because, as I have mentioned 1,000 times, the index is of string type. So what I will do, I will write a if condition, and for that I have to mention another variable, a counter variable. So here what I am doing is that I am iterating through each elements of this associative array, and I have assigned I have written a counter inside the argument of this if condition. So what is happening right there is that the counter will begin with the value 0, and it will, since it's the post increment, it will first it will first check the condition whether the counter is equals to the random index 1, which is this number right here, which we picked using this $u random. So it will check for this condition, and if the condition matches, it will just note that particular index. And since that index is of string data type, I am assigning it to our other random index variable, which is of string data type. So it will keep on counting, it will keep on incrementing until it gets equated to this random index which you picked from here. So when it does, it will just assign the index associated to that random index, and it will store that string value of index inside this variable. And after that, we will print that random string index. And since it's a post increment, it will first compare the condition, and after that condition, if the check fails, only after that it will get incremented. So first it will check, then it will get incremented. Then we will do a second check, then it will get incremented. So let's complete the code. After this, when we get our random index, we will just print it using a simple display statement. So for this, since the index is of string type, I will also mention the random element number. And we can get the random element number from this random index 1. I will change it to S and this to S also. Should be str. Now let's go ahead, and first I will check for any possible compilation error or any typos. Okay, there are 4 errors. So let's find out. Okay, first one is in the line 13, right? Okay, what the hell I did right here? Should be curly brackets, and not only curly brackets. It should have that comma. I tick. Okay, we are good with this one. I will run the code for one more time. Okay, here. Okay, I should have, because the conditional operator should have equals to. I'm using 3 equals to because no, I don't care for unknown. So I will use 2 equal to. Should solve for here. Okay. Okay, these are just the type. These are just silly mistakes from my side. Seven. Should not It worked. So now I will go ahead and simulate the code. What the hell? I only mentioned two formal arguments. Should also mention the random index one here. Hell, oh, it should work just fine. So all the errors were just some silly typos, and it happened. Just happened. So as you can see right here that it picked a random element and it picked y this time, which was the element number one. So using this and oh, it picked 9 again. So yeah, using $u random range, we can also pick any random element from an associative array, but the catch is that you cannot directly assign that random variable as an index like you can do for the associative array. So for that, the trick is very simple. You just have to iterate through each elements and you have to write this condition in which you will compare the counter. So basically, you are iterating through each of the elements and you are incrementing the counter. So if the counter is 0 and it will compare the random number which you got within the range of the size of that associative array. And when the condition pass, you will just assign the index to a different index which is being used to store the index in of string data type, and then you will just go ahead and display that value. So it's very simple for associative array also, but you just need few more extra steps. So I hope you find this video useful. Please stay tuned for more. Thank you so much.